Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Everyday Ethics. I'm your host, Michael Liebowitz. I got the link up a little late today. I apologize for that. I was extremely busy. Oh, God, what a pain in the, well, I had to drive and then I got stuck in traffic. That's like the worst thing when you plan for things and then the traffic just messes up everything. But you know, the old saying, man plans, God laughs. Well, evidently the traffic gods are laughing as well. Later on today, I was supposed to be having coffee with my friend Danny. He screwed me out of my Tuesday afternoon coffee. That's very unfortunate and very unfair of him to do. But, well, you know. Hi, Katrin. How you doing? Please remember that, yes, I was busy arguing with your friends online. Handle your candle. And that's actually what we're going to talk about here today. But I want everybody to remember to please remember the super chats, super stickers. I love them all. Danny, yes, you did. We had plans for Tuesday to have coffee, and then you canceled at the last minute. And now you tell me your daughter had a thing. Well, that's really not my fault. My job was to make and keep the plans. You broke the plans. I'm now without a coffee partner for tonight. My girlfriend is also out, so I'm going to be having dinner alone. I'll probably have a protein bar and maybe some other snack. We'll throw that in. So yes. So I titled this episode here today, Battles Worth Fighting. So I read a book by Ben Stein a few years back called 100 Ways to Ruin Your Life. And it was a good book. And one of the things he said that you can do is fight every battle. And I am definitely the dum-dum that tries to fight every battle. I think I need to. So right now, what I have going on, there's three things. I actually posted about this morning. So there are, backstory for those of you who don't know, 25 years in prison. What helped me to change my life around was in large part this. You can see the book is in tatters. This is my original copy of Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand. It's coming apart and whatnot. I probably read it 20 times. Who knows how many times I studied it. But yes, it largely, yes, the game show host. The book and the philosophy largely helped me to turn my life around. I take it very seriously. I think it's a very important philosophy. Right now, there are those who are calling themselves objectivists and at the same time are going out of their way to say that I'll get to that in a second, who prays for Satan. I forgot what I was going to say. So you have this idea where you have these objectivists who are saying that Donald Trump is a hero, according to objectivism. He clearly is not. You have another group with your handle your candle friend here who call themselves anarcho-objectivists. They don't understand objectivism. No offense, handle your candle, but you just don't. You've been studying this philosophy for a year. You have not even read all the important texts. So you really just don't grasp it yet, which is fine. Nobody would expect you to. You've been studying it for a year. You're 22 years old. My issue is when you and your friends go out there and promote yourselves as authorities on objectivism, as if in saying that everybody else is getting it wrong, but you're getting it right. Meanwhile, I can't tell you how many people have come to me and made the arguments that they got from Liquid Zulu, who's like the head of the movement. And they're saying that this is objectivism when it clearly isn't. So that annoys me. I think that it's something that's worth fighting against. And the third thing is, I asked a question. No, I know schizoid. I actually met this schizoid guy in person. We'll get to that in a second. But the third thing is, I asked a question the other day on social media. And my question was, if you're going to critique a theory, should you actually read it? And an abundance of people that call themselves objectivists said, no, you don't need to read the theory to critique it, which I just think is bonkers, right? I think if you are going to critique something, you should study it. You shouldn't take somebody else's word for what it is. You should go in and see what, what's happening. And so that's the three things. And then, yes, you have this idiot. I met this schizoid guy at where the hell did I Pork Fest. And this guy is so wrong on so much, and he's such a pompous dick that it's unreal. Like, I mean, I went in and I showed him all the things and all the ways in which he was just wrong about stuff. Not all the ways. I mean, I didn't even listen to the whole thing, but he's just wrong. He just does not, quite literally does not know what he's talking about. So then it comes to me and I say to myself, okay, I've got all these different areas. What do I want to devote my limited time to arguing against? Right. Because I think it's incumbent upon me to do so, but I don't have all the time in the world. And sometimes I get impatient and with these, especially with these younger guys, because they're young, and as being young, they're very sure that they know everything, as most of us did when we were young. And that's a situation where I should have more patience. But, I have my own idiosyncrasies, my own pet peeves, and my own issues. And sometimes I lose my patience with them when they say things that are just off the chains ridiculous. So it's what do I do? As far as Persephone, who prays for Satan, says he re-uploaded your entire anarcho-objectivism video, which is bad form because it takes away traffic from yours. I do have a problem with it. I don't really know what can be done about it. So whatever. I actually shared his video because my point is more in this case about getting the argument out there. And I want people to I would love it if they listen to this fool, because they will see exactly what I'm talking about. He just does not know what he's talking about. It's that simple. I don't know. I don't know. Like, when somebody is that badly informed on basics, it's hard to even know where to start. So anyways, remember that we're always assessing things. I don't even know how to do that. Persephone, copyright strike him. I don't know how to do it. So it'd be, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing there. Okay. Anyway, so remember that the standard that we go by here is always what is in your own best interest, what is in my own best interest. So I have to figure out here what is in my best interest here in relation to whom I want to argue with and when. And especially when these take place on social media, it's not like you just have a one-on-one. You inevitably have other people that come in sniping. And that's why, to be honest, I really dislike the format of social media for engaging in debates, because too many different people get involved. You lose track of the threads, that sort of thing. Let me take a sip of this water. But anyway, so I want to use this as kind of a discussion with you. What do you use as a metric to let things go? When do you let things go? What battles are worth fighting? When, like, for instance, I'll take handle your candle here. This guy is going to school, college. He has a lot of exams to do. He's studying to be, I believe, an engineer. But the problem here is that he takes a lot of his time out to get involved on social media and do other things, which is detracting from his schoolwork. So he has to figure out what is in his best interest to do, what is important. In my view, for him, what should be important is learning and studying, not getting into arguments online with a limited understanding of what you know. You should learn more. I tried to convey this to him earlier on. I don't always do it well because I'm hot and I'm in these discussions, but really, you take the time to learn the philosophy, take the time to learn your school, your studies, and then you are in a better position to make your arguments. Let's see what I got here. A great super chat. Love this and your podcast, especially with James Valiant. Can't stick around, but we'll watch later. Keep doing what you're doing, Michael. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your words and the $5. Daniel says everyone try to donate, as he did not donate to my coffee drinking tonight. And he pulled a Kenny Banyan on me. Anybody know who Kenny Banyan is? the character from Seinfeld who gives Seinfeld a suit and wants a dinner and then goes out to dinner, gets a soup and says the soup's not dinner, then goes out and gets a sandwich and says that's not dinner. I took Daniel out to dinner. I got him a soup. I got him a sandwich. And he says, oh, this doesn't count. It's not good enough. Something, something, something. But soup and sandwich is a dinner, as any Seinfeld fan should know. But back to my buddy, and he gave $2, so we won't be too difficult on him today. So my handle your candle friend. So you aren't up to par with understanding the philosophy, right? And you've got an abundance of other things to do. So why spend your time arguing for a position that's not even solidified in your own mind yet, and taking away from the other things that you can be doing that are far more productive for you, for your own interest, and just for your psychological well-being? That, in my view, is what you should be doing. For me, it's a different story because, for one, I'm 50 years old almost. I've spent a lifetime, as you can see, studying this. I wish maybe you can maybe see. I turned to a random page, all the underlines, the notes. I filled notebooks, trying to sort this stuff out. But not only that, but I'm a podcaster. So this is my career. This is what I want to do. I'm already I'm behind the 8 ball as far as establishing a career. So now here I am, and that's what I'm trying to do. But for you, handle your candle, you have, his name's Man Sharma. He's Indian. He's a really great guy. But you could be spending your time so much more wisely, so much better as far as pursuing your own interest. But we all have this issue in life where we have a limited amount of time, a little bit amount of space where we can be doing things. So what battles do we fight? What battles shouldn't we fight? What battles are you fighting that you can't win, that aren't worth fighting? You know what I mean? That's the point that we're trying to get to here, is we all have to balance and prioritize our time in order to maximize our own well-being. So when it comes to arguing, we have to pick our battles. For instance, do I want to take the time to go out and file a copyright strike against this asshole? To be honest, I'm less concerned with the fact that he did it than with I don't want to use that word, a pompous jerk this dude is. Like, he's so high on himself and so wrong that it absolutely amazes me. Like, for instance, I recently had a debate with this guy, Juan Carpio. Many of you saw the debate. We debated. It was Objectivism versus Rothbardianism on my podcast. And I mean, look, you don't have to be a genius to have watched this debate and know that this guy did not make sense. He didn't bring coherent arguments, and I utterly wrecked him. You know what I mean? But yet today he's online talking smack again. And it's just like, okay, he's not worth my time. Getting into an argument or a debate with that guy is simply not worth my time. Stephan Kinsella. This is a guy who I've tried to be nice to. I've tried to be cordial with. I've had him on my show. I've debated with him. I've always been respectful, but he can't help but be a dick. And on top of being a dick, his thinking and his theories are full of so many contradictions. It's impossible to sort out. He will contradict himself from one sentence to the next and pretend it's a virtue. So Stephan Kinsella is not worth my time in getting into debates. It's simply not. I mean, I love to debate. I love that sort of thing. I don't like to be insulted over and over again as part of the debate process. It's just stupid. And it's not on me to sort through every time you make a contradiction and then get called on it and just ignore it and say people are obsessed with order or, this or that. So clearly that's somebody I don't want to be debating with, unless, let me just say, and this is a good example of priorities. If it's on the Soho Forum debate stage, I'm there, because that's a big enough stage and a big enough audience where to soundly defeat Stephan Kinsella in debate would be a very good notch in my belt. To be honest, I've debated him, I think 5 times, and I think I've won or drawed all of them. I don't think he's defeated me. I even debated him on his specialty, which is not a strong area of interest for me, internet intellectual property. don't think he did very well there. But I digress. My point isn't to cast aspersions on Stefan. My point is to talk about when we should be arguing, what battles we should be fighting. So I think as a first rule, the battle should be winnable, right? And by winnable, I don't mean, how do I put this, that you win a debate or you immediately get what you want, but you should have some goal that you're trying to attain by fighting this battle. And that goal ought to be achievable. If the goal is not achievable, then you're fighting a losing battle. There's just no point. So stop. But also it should be important to you. So the philosophy of objectivism is important to me because of what it did for me, because of how it benefited me, and because of how I know it can benefit others, people that I care about. When it gets bastardized and watered down and people are getting a bad view of it, then it's taking away from them. Even if they incorporate it, they're getting it wrong. So it can't have the positive impact that I know it can have. But then you have, like, for instance, when the Liquid Zulu debated Dave Smith on Jacob Vinograd's show. And Dave Smith says that objectivism just consists of axioms and then they deduce all their conclusions in a strict logical chain. This is false, palpably false, easily showable to be false. Liquid Zulu didn't contradict them, didn't point it out. So, but you have now thousands and thousands and thousands of people watching this and come in thinking that, okay, objectivism is the philosophy whereby we deduce from axioms. But that's not the case. Handle Your Candle says when his exams are done, he and Zulu want to do a reaction to my video with proper study and arguments from our side in a proper manner. Of course, I'd be okay with that. I have no problem with that at all. I think it's great. I think discourse is phenomenal. My problem with the sort of Zuluites, which is what I'll call them because they're not objectivist, is hubris, right? You are a bunch of 20-somethings in your early 20s who have studied this philosophy on a limited basis and think you're in a position to, you say, well, no, we're not claiming to be experts, but in effect you are. When you're out there and you say, no, we are deducing from axioms to get to the corollaries, you're wrong, first of all. But when Zulu says that, he's misrepresenting the philosophy. When he turns around and says that you deduce all of law from non-aggression principle, that also is not consistent with objectivism. When he says we can kick out politics, that's not consistent with objectivism. So epistemologically, ethically, and as far as politics goes, he's just wrong on so much of that stuff, which is okay. He's 24 years old, and he's just starting out. But when you're that wrong and you present it as if you know, and you are the authority, as he says, I've already proven this. No, you've claimed it. There's a big difference between claiming something and proving it. They're not the same thing. Greg Lewis says, is the problem misinformation being put out there, which the freedom of speech protects, or the vetting process of the recipients? Ultimately it's both, but you can't put it all on the vetting process of the recipients. What I mean is some people just don't know. So someone might tune into something and hear that. That's their first impression and turn away from it. Is it right that they do so? No, of course it's not right for them to do so. But if we are trying to spread our message and we are trying to get it across and trying to teach people, we have to account for that. And we can't just assume what am I saying here? We can't just assume that people should and then just kick them out. Danny, are you saying that we're on for coffee today at 4:00? Okay, well, if he said objectivism is inductive on his stream today, that's a big improvement over what he's been saying recently, or what he has said in the past. I wonder then how he would handle, come by your house for coffee. You're out of your mind. You're jumping from going right down the street to be having to drive 30 freaking miles. Are you crazy? No, we're not doing that. You can't break plans and then tell me to go to your house. Maybe I will. I'll think about this. If there's a dinner in it for me, maybe a sandwich, something along those lines. So back to you're home already. All right, that's good. Okay. I don't know how objectivism being inductive ties into his deducing from the NAP the entire theory of law, or how that goes with handling the his deduction from axioms. Maybe he switched on that. That would be fantastic. So, but I'm getting into my own personal stuff and what's been aggravating me, and I'm deviating from the topic of discussion, which is how we should spend our time, how we should pick our battles, and what battles that we should be fighting. Right? That's the key. My friend Danny, let me put him out there, for instance. Danny is the type of guy that will fight battles that he should be letting go. He's the type of guy that lets people get under his skin. He worries, what people are saying, what people are thinking about him, which is not a very productive way to go about things, especially not when you were as big as he is. And, this can lead to big problems. It's funny to me because when you talk about someone like Danny, it's funny how life changes. When we were little kids, I was the tough one. I was older than he is. And, so he's thinking of me as the tough guy. Now he's the big tough guy and I'm the little guy. So it alters things considerably, to say the least. I don't know why the hell I even brought that up, but whatever. It's my show. I can talk about whatever I want. Are there any questions from the audience? I really need questions from the audience. That helps the flow of the show when the audience comes with questions. Like, for instance, Greg Lewis, the great Greg Lewis here. That is awesome that he asked a question. I need more people. Oh, okay. One issue that might be a problem is that Zulu's course, most of his content is older than his exposure and study of objectivism. It needs to be updated, and he admits it. Okay, then do so before you're telling everybody that you're the authority on objectivism, or that you've proven things with objectivism, or that objectivism is consistent with anarchism. The thing is to come out and say, okay, I've been mistaken in the past. I need to fix this, not to continue putting yourself out there as an authority. You wrote that there are objectivists who think that you can critique ideas without reading them. Can I give a context for that? Sure. I mean, if you just go to my social media pages, I asked that the other day, and a lot of them said, yes, it's perfectly fine because they trust Ayn Rand or Leonard Peikoff or the scholars at ARI to critique the theories for them. I don't do that. I don't think Ayn Rand did that. I don't think it's good form. I don't think it's a good idea. The same people don't like, or I'm not saying the same people, but I doubt the same people, is my speculation, like when people do that to Ayn Rand, right? I'm not saying you have to go out and read Critique of Pure Reason. It may not be in your interest to do so. I've read it twice. It's a crappy book. It's not very enlightening. But because I've read it, I feel I'm capable of critiquing some aspects of Immanuel Kant's theories, right? That's what I'm talking about. But I've seen an abundance of people who will talk about Kant and say, he divorces the mind from reality, which is true, but they've gotten it from Rand. They have not gotten it from the source. And in my view, if you're going to critique something, if you're going to critique somebody, you all ought to do it based on that person's own teaching and words, and not doing it based on somebody else's ideas. Do I think it would be easier to be an objectivist if we met fewer people, only people that we choose? If we meet, I think that we ought to befriend only people that we choose. I don't know if we could choose to everybody that we meet. I mean, that might be a little bit tough because you're going to meet people that you have no say over. But I certainly think that we could limit the amount of people with whom we deal by the choices that we make, by making good choices. That is for sure. Greg Lewis says Ayn Rand trained her mind to the degree she could process information on the fly. Handle Your Candle says that would be hard. Can you change that name, please? I don't like it. Please change the name. On my show, I like to dictate what names people have. That's my thing. So I would like it if you'd change it. So yeah. Now, what the hell was I talking about? Well, Ayn Rand had an absolutely amazing mind. We don't all have that type of mind. I certainly do not. What tells you a small issue is actually a symptom of a bigger problem worth addressing? Ooh, that's tough. Okay, so for me, I don't know if this is going to get to the heart of your question, but I know if something small is indicative of a bigger issue that I have. For instance, I have control issues. So I'll know if I'm engaging in a behavior that's not outright controlling, but is indicative of the broader problem. So I know to dial it back. It becomes complicated sometimes when, for instance, if I know a friend is doing something bad for him or my girlfriend's doing something bad for herself. So I want to talk to them about it, but the old control comes back. So I have to be cognizant of that. Right. Similarly, let's say drug use, right? I refuse to drink. I will take a marijuana gummy, once or twice a week when I need to sleep. I take them at bed to sleep. I don't go out with friends and, spark up joints, but I do have to be careful because I know that can become a bigger problem. So the thing is to learn to think in principle, Nicole, to identify when there's a bigger issue at hand than something that thinks small. Thinking in principle is both difficult, but essential and vital to acting in your own term interest, because your long-term interest, because then you can actually recognize things that maybe you wouldn't otherwise do. Mr. Deagle asks, is there argument that you can only read Rand or that you can read somebody else's, some of their ideas? Yes, their argument is that it's perfectly okay to read somebody else's summary. Now, let me just be clear. I think that as long as you say that's what you're doing, it's okay. I think if you want to be a thought influencer or something of that degree, that going off of a summary is probably not a good idea. I told somebody today that I really like. I said, look, Kantians will make mincemeat out of you. If you say, for instance, I asked her, what's the difference between noumena and phenomena, and why does the difference come about? She said, well, the noumenal world is the real world, and the phenomenal world is what comes through the senses. And I said, okay, why? I said, and she didn't know. And I said, well, you've not mentioned the categories at all, the role of the categories in that situation. And my point isn't that it's vital for life to understand the a priori categories and their role in Kant's philosophy. My point is that if you're engaging in philosophical discussions with somebody and you want to be taken seriously, or if you actually want them to take objectivism seriously, you can't just say, well, Ayn Rand said. That's just not going to cut it. And that's all, all I'm saying here. Handle Your Candle says, is sparking up a joint with the friends necessarily a bad thing? No, not at all. Not at all. It could be a bad thing depending on your own history, depending on where you're doing it. But on its own, no, I wouldn't say so. Greg Lewis says it's vital if you are planning to enter that arena. Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Can I tell you? I'll tell you an interesting story. No Name said, should we teach objectivism to children? I don't think you could teach it to them. You could, start off teaching them in accordance with the method and reinforcing the type of behaviors that are indicative of it. But you're not going to teach them, the conceptual common denominator when they're 5. They're just not going to understand that. But so I went to school with a girl named Kira, and we're now friends on Facebook. And I saw that her middle name is Ayn. So I asked her, is that actually her middle name? And she said, yes, her middle name is Ayn and her first name is Kira, based on the protagonist in We the Living. Not only that, but her birthday is February 2nd, the same as Ayn Rand. I just thought that was a hell of a coincidence and just something very, very interesting. Kira, I don't know what you're talking about. Kira's the protagonist in We the Living. If you haven't read We the Living, I don't know what to tell you. It's a good book. It's not my favorite by any stretch of the imagination. It's funny when people talk about objectivism. Leonard's daughter, yes, was also named after Kira, the protagonist in We the Living. Most people say if you're going to read Ayn Rand, they don't like the dry stuff. I got to tell you, Virtue of Selfishness, Objectivism, the philosophy of Ayn Rand. This is my stuff. Yes, We the Living, Kira. We actually, objectivist epistemology. That is my jam. Leonard Peikoff's Understanding Objectivism was awesome. Okay. Oh my goodness. Not that it's a big deal, but I have gone over time and I do have things to do. Once again, I thank you ever so much for joining me here today. I thank you so much for all your comments, and I hope you will be here with me again tomorrow at the same time. And thanks everybody for the super chats and super stickers as well. Thank you.